All right, let's time travel back to 1938. We can use a time machine, portal, whatever. You use your imaginations. We'll go back to 1938 and we're going to go to West Virginia. And there we can go to a newsstand. And with a dime, just 10 cents, we'll buy an item. And we'll come back to modern times and we can sell that item for $3.2 million. That item is Action Comics #1, which featured the debut of Superman and the first ever superhero in comics. As the LA Times reported, that was recently sold for $3.2 million. This is due to the success of comic book superheroes. Now, I am a nerd, and I have been into superheroes since before I was a teenager. I regularly attend Comic-Con, and even my iPhone case is Avengers themed. Now, superheroes are everywhere these days, and their popularity is only growing. They are on TV of almost every major network. They're on Netflix. They have video games, mobile games, and they only have plans for even more in the future. So if not us, then our kids or our nieces and nephews are going to be growing up with this stuff. And it might be a good idea for us to, have a little interest in what they're interested in, because there are also female superheroes coming out, so not just boys. And also have a good understanding of how it got there. Today I want to describe for you the key developments for DC Entertainment and Marvel that helped increase their popularity across multiple media platforms. With humble beginnings for both companies in the 1960s, it wasn't until 1966 that the first big break for superheroes happened and brought them into different media outlets. Live-action TV shows and films caught fans' imaginations and brought beloved characters to life for the first time and brought in new fans. I know I'm doing it right. So there's a Batman. Well, Holy Rusted Metal Batman. The Batman show of 1960s featuring Adam West was so popular, even though shoddy video screens in the back, so popular that PBS's Pioneers of Television named the Batman show the biggest TV phenomenon of the mid-1960s. And it even had its own movie based on the TV show. Recently, it was boxed and sold on DVD for the first time, but 45 years later, still popular then. And every episode used to be available on YouTube. Due to the success of this show, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk TV shows followed, and those are still remembered fondly today. And then later followed the Superman and Batman film series, and then those led to animated shows and then helped to comic book boom in the early 1990s. Superman the movie, featuring the late Christopher Reeves, was so popular that it led to 3 sequels. The Batman franchise was so popular it also had 3 sequels. And those Batman films helped inspire an animated show which used the same music score from the first 2 movies. That show's success led to other animated shows such as X-Men, Spider-Man, Hulk, and Superman, and helped bring in new readers to both DC and Marvel in the early 90s. But as the comic book sales declined, both companies were faced with a different decision. They would soon discover how to make unplanned external factors work for them. While Marvel was wrestling for control of their own public company, other film studios were pushed to begin production on their most popular Marvel superheroes and beat Marvel to the punch. As reported by E! In 1996, Marvel filed for bankruptcy. Part of the cause was this, and the fallout was a push to start their own TV and film production house. Over the years, Marvel had sold their film rights to the most popular characters to other film studios. But now Marvel's potential studio forced those studios to make their films in order to keep those rights, otherwise they would revert to Marvel Studio, and Marvel would finally have the power to make those films. It began in 2000 with X-Men. This was the big one. And this was made by Fox Studios. X-Men opened to $54.5 million its opening weekend, which was a record in July for a non-sequel, as reported by Box Office Mojo. The success of this film led other studios to begin immediate production on theirs, and other Marvel superhero films were then produced like Hulk, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man broke the overall weekend record with 114.8 million. With the help from new readers due to the success of different studio films based on Marvel characters, Marvel was back on their feet now and ready with their own film studio and about to try a very risky concept. Marvel used the concept of a shared universe between characters and films to resounding success, which also prompted DC to do the same. Marvel would use the success of their first film, Iron Man, to cameo that same character in Incredible Hulk that same summer and then show their connection. Eventually that would lead to future films and a team-up of all 6 pre-existing superhero characters in one film called The Avengers, which broke the weekend record with $207 million. Now they connected eventually to their TV shows that would come out later in recent years, such as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Daredevil. Their films and their TV shows are all connected within the same universe and have the potential to affect one another. DC had decided to do their own shared universes, but first they had to wait for Christopher Nolan's successful Batman franchise to conclude, because they were not interested in actually connecting their films to any other superheroes. So it actually began for DC with Man of Steel, and it will continue with Batman v Superman this coming March. However, they do currently have a shared universe on TV featuring their TV shows The Flash and Arrow, but this is separate from their film universe. They do not connect. But that's not all. Through the foundation of stories for more than 70 years and continuing to use multiple entertainment outlets, DC and Marvel are just getting started. Now, DC and Marvel never forgot their humble beginnings, nor their original fans, and they continue to produce new comics today. They translate those stories and new ones into live-action shows and films to better bring fans' imaginations and their own imaginations to life. Now, they have financial backing to keep this going for a long time. DC Comics are owned by Warner Brothers. Marvel was recently purchased by Disney for $4 billion. Currently, there are 12 DC or Marvel superhero shows either currently airing or in production on 4 major TV networks and Netflix. NBC is the only one that doesn't have one out of the top 5, so they decided to go back and bring their own Heroes show back and rename it Heroes Reborn. DC plans to build upon their own successful Batman Arkham video series with another shared universe and spin-off video games. DC also has another shared universe separate from their film and separate from their TV that they use in their animated TV films that come out for home releases on DVD and Blu-ray. Marvel currently has 7 mobile games available. I've played 4 of them. And the film slate goes on and on and on, all the way to 2020. As reported by Comics Alliance. This next one is Deadpool, and then here's Batman v Superman. Not included in this were the recently announced Ant-Man sequel, which is actually going to be in 2018, and Marvel has announced 3 untitled films for 2020. A lot of things coming out. And this comic is titled Civil War, and this is what got me into reading comics. And as it just so happens, there is a movie coming out entitled Captain America Civil War based on this said comic this May. And who knows, maybe in 50 or so years, this might be worth millions of dollars. I want to take a look at this.
Yeah. I almost bought all movies at my work.
All right, Anthony, what did you think?
Let's start off. He had a very good attention device. His introduction was good. He states the sensations very good. And also, I like how he starts with a comic, talking about a comic, and ends talking about a comic. That's very interesting. And wait, this.
Okay. All right. Well, Taylor, I think you did a really good job on everything, the introduction and the conclusion. I like the way they tie in to each other. You cited your material consistently in the presentation. There's a lot of information, but it's always interesting. I didn't think that it got boring. The only thing that is a little problematic is just the technical logistics that you had with the issue, and I'm going to have to check on that because I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Actually, I'm present.
I'm not sure if it didn't get launched as a PowerPoint, if maybe somebody has unplugged the remote connector, and like I said, I got to check on that. I'll do that in just a second. That's not, you handled it pretty well. There are a lot of ways to take care of it. I might have gotten a volunteer to just come up and push the button when I was standing there. Pointed at somebody, could you stand over here for a second? And when I asked, push the, but that's one of those things that you want to check before you launch your presentation, and that's a technical kind of thing. It doesn't really have much to do with the content of the speech. I thought the content of the speech was very nicely put together, so I don't have any comments about that. It's well organized. Internal signposts were good. The slate of upcoming stuff is pretty solid there. That's good. So you've got your phone with your Avengers theme on it. Is that it? Okay, that's good. That's good.